I was going to ask you, Omar, who would you consider to be the king of R&B? You know, the king of
Well, that's
R&B, because I know Whitney
that's
used
a
to call
loaded
Bob.
question.
Well, Whitney used to call Bobby king of R&B, and I know some people
Hmm.
call Keith Sweat king of R&B. Um, but yeah, it's just a fascinating sort of thought, because it's like, okay, we had people who came out in the 80s and 90s, 2000s, and even 2010. People talk about Chris Brown, but when you think about, when you look back with your covering all the artists and stuff, who would you think
Right.
as a male vocalist that, yeah, this person can successfully wear that crown?
Well, I mean, there's a technical answer to that, and there is a emotional
Okay,
answer to
he's
that.
going technical.
So I don't know if I want to go technical because we don't really do technical around here, do we? But because technically, my answer is gonna make some people mad.
Okay,
Drake is
Drake.
actually the king of R&B with 23 number one hits on the R&B charts.
Oh,
No
okay,
one is even touching Drake. But again, that's a technical answer
okay,
because
okay,
that's not the only way we determine who is the king of R&B.
okay.
But in my opinion, I usually split up by, the eras. I think in the
Uh,
80s, I would say Luther. Luther is the king of R&B from the 80s. I think in
okay,
the 90s, we're going to say R. Kelly.
okay.
2000s, we're going to probably say Usher. And
Uh,
today, we're going to say Chris Brown. As
okay.
far as an overall, that's really difficult because, like I said, Stevie Wonder will probably be the key. Is technically, I'm gonna take Drake off because Drake is a rapper. Stevie Wonder has 20 number one hits
Wow.
on the R&B um, charts, and his career has spanned 50 years. So, how do you argue with that? Next under
Mm,
him is James Brown with 17 number one R&B hits.
mm.
Um, but again, like I said, for me, we usually don't go back to obviously you guys, I know you don't usually go back to the 70s, 60s and stuff like that. So in just your frame of your time, I would say Luther Vandross. Who do you
Okay.
say?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we tend to leave out the artists from the 60s and 70s is just because, from Sam Cooke to Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway, they were just on a very different level in what they were able to do. Um,
What
but
do you mean
then,
by that?
no,
Different level on what
I
they're able to
just
do.
think musically they were able to sing politics, but they were dealing with so much more, and their songs would seem richer. They sounded
Hmm.
richer. And as you said, Stevie has been consistent since the 60s, 70s, 80s, as well. Luther
But that's why
is,
it has to be broken up by eras because it's unfair to say king of R&B when you have a Stevie Wonder staring you in the face with 20 number one hits and Bobby Brown got what? How many number one hits? I don't even know. But again, so that's what I'm saying. Like I as far as the R&B charts, maybe he got maybe I'll be nice and generous and say five. But as far as these other names, I mean there's just too many names to mention that have, you know, quantifiable, what's the word? You know, you can look at the data, but also
yeah,
feel the influence. Like Stevie Wonder's influence is still felt today. Like look how many artists have come after Aaron Hall, R. Kelly, that have that Stevie Wonder vibe to their vocals and their
yeah,
delivery. Um, it's just so many people that have been inspired and are that's come after that Stevie Wonder that sound like Stevie Wonder, that's adapted so many different things from Stevie Wonder. I would definitely call him the king of R&B.
but
But
did that
if we're
change
just
though? Did music change? Because when we think about the 870s and 860s and 70s, it was more so soul music as opposed to the terminology of
soul music,
R&B.
R&B are the same thing for the most
But
part.
then,
I
yeah,
mean, I
but
get
then,
what you're trying to go, where you're going, but
yeah,
I
but
mean,
that,
they're not the same thing technically. They're not,
yeah,
but they are. They're
yeah,
born of each other. So,
yeah,
but go
but
ahead.
then,
I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
I'm gonna cut
but
you off.
then, but you know that, the way the music changed. So that's when we look at R&B. in the
I
it may be a
no, go
technical
ahead.
change name, but it just felt differently that they were singing differently and stuff. So hence the
No,
soul
I think
music.
sometimes people like criteria to exclude certain things because the numbers don't lie, the success doesn't lie, and a lot of the artists just don't match up. When you
Mm,
talk about somebody like Stevie Wonder, who might have maybe 25 albums, and then a particular artist might have out four, so there's no competition, and that's why I initially said
breaking
by era.
that era,
So,
yeah.
but if we're gonna talk about in the last um we're gonna
Well,
talk about the last 30 years. I'm gonna just say overall, I'm gonna say R. Kelly
mm,
overall. Just
yeah,
sheer inspiration, the different careers he's touched because he's written for other people, and careers that he's created. There's been a lot of R. Kelly copycats. The influence. I just don't see. I mean, I like Usher, and I think Usher actually has more. Well, I don't know if they're counting in this number art as number ones as an artist, but
mm,
Usher has 13. He's tied with MJ and Marvin Gaye with 13 number one R&B singles.
mm.
So so yeah, Usher, he's a strong contender. But as far as Usher's influence, I don't know that his influence is at the same magnitude of R. Kelly. But I mean, we can go. We still haven't heard who is your choice? Who do you think?
So yeah,
In
my choice I mean, a lot of people, Whitney called Bobby the king of R&B, but then it's pretty much off the back of one album. Even the Bobby album, which is my favorite of his,
So
just wasn't.
Bobby,
Yeah,
just say
no, no,
it.
no, no, no. I wouldn't say Bob. If I
You're
was
you've been
looking
going on
at
and on about Bobby.
no, if I
Go
was
ahead.
looking at consistency, I probably would probably look at Keith Sweat. Even
Okay.
he's just yeah. I just think about Keith Sweat just from the '80s. He's still releasing music now. He's kept his style. He headlines any tour that's out there now. He's the main
Right.
headline, and I think
But I think also with these titles though, we have to have a criteria because we throw these titles around and
mm,
there's no real criteria to define what is to because okay, we've called Mary J. Blige the queen of hip hop soul.
well, that
What
was
does that
some
even mean? And I
yeah
know, well,
yeah
but it's stuck. And so somebody would wonder, well, who is the next? There was Keisha Cole came out at one point and people thought, oh, she might be the next. And then another artist came out and they thought, oh, she might be the next. So it becomes these titles, the king of pop and different things like that.
yeah.
Um,
But those are titles
how
that
do you,
don't get passed on. I think King of Rock and Roll, the King of Pop. I think the Godfather of Soul, the Queen of Soul. I think once you get the title,
well,
I don't think you can.
you once you get
Someone
the
takes
title, yes, because
someone
the
takes
person
over.
no one can really take that king of pop title until they do what Michael did and surpass it. And that's why that sticks, right? So
Yeah.
when we say king of R&B, again, we're going to have to go back to what is that criteria. So I didn't mean to cut you off,
Mm.
but what do you think should be the criteria for king of R&B?
Ah, good question. Because as I said, it's there's not been any definition of R&B. We accept Aretha as Queen of Soul just because, as I said, the music and how she consistent and how she interpreted music. I think with R&B, especially with the male side, there was no real defining sort of criteria. It just felt like yeah, whoever is singing, and um, and it's always the generations. So those who are big in the '90s would always pick up R. Kelly. Those from the '80s would say, okay, Bobby did something, but he just didn't do enough. But they still have a sentimental value towards him. And I said Keith Sweat just because he's just consistently delivering and
Okay.
he's still showcasing. But they I think it'd be great um, to really define what an R&B king should look like. Um, I know Billboard and there will be some polls coming up soon on our channel that would say who Billboard has listed as the top 35 greatest soul singers, and this was male, female included. And they did bring people like Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and stuff. Very few '90s artists actually made the charts because they were, because they felt about how they interpreted music and stuff, not about their hits, but how they delivered the music and how distinct they were. Because you could look at R. Kelly and say he copied Aaron Hall copied Charlie Wilson copied Stevie
Yeah.
Wonder. So you could say, well, what was unique about what he did compared to, say, Donny Hathaway or Sam Cooke, who are very distinct and no one has emulated that type of stuff. So it may be originality, you know.
But let us know your thoughts. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already to the fastest growing R&B podcast, Can We Talk R&B podcast. Check us out on the next episode, guys. See you next time.
All right.
Thanks again for watching, guys.
And before we go, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
Yeah, and also remember to turn on the notification so you can know when we have another show. But thanks again.
That too.